I didn't film none of this. It's clean as a whistle. Did these two crankshaft seals, and they were loose on the shaft. They're as hard as rubber. One's worse than the other. This is the worst one. This one's as hard as nails. I wasn't sealing around the crank, so I hope that fixes it. But I had a boo-boo, which I don't understand why. I broke one of my exhaust studs because I've had this apart before. I've had this off because I pulled all the muffler apart and had a look inside, realising that it's 3 pieces and it's got this little combustion muffler compression chamber thingy. So I've had this one all apart before, but I worked it to a point and then I couldn't work it back or forth no more, and it snapped. And there's still spare goodies in there I haven't put on. So next time the missus goes to Claire, I'm going to give this up at Autovale and see if she can get me a second handy off of a, I don't know, MS 170, 180, MS 250. They're all the same, as long as I'll send a good one with her. She can get me one of those and a nut, and that'll fix it. I did run it, but didn't really try and tune it without the exhaust on it. I've never had a bar on it either. This chain doesn't cut, so, well, I mean it cuts, but it doesn't cut. So I've got to sharpen it. I reckon the depth gauges are high. I haven't checked. But yeah. Anywho. So, the only thing I didn't replace, and I probably should have just done it, because I've got it in that cardboard box, is the manifold boot. But I pressure checked it. I couldn't blow through it. I couldn't find any cracks in it. It looked like it was really good, so I was reluctant to change it. But it's not that hard to undo the 4 bolts at the bottom and pull all this cover off again and pull the saw basically completely apart again just to get that cover off. Or maybe I can manipulate that off now. That cover there. Maybe I can manipulate that off far enough to change it. But anyway, it's late at night. I've been to bed. I can't sleep. It's got heaps of compression. It looks like it's been apart once before for crankshaft seals. And I'd say they might have been cheap ones. And well, all the bore looks really good. The rings look like they're brand new. The piston looks good. It all feels nice when it goes in there. And it has got a fair bit of compression. The only thing I have thought about maybe deleting is the bypass here, the compression release. Apparently when they shit themselves, they let themselves go and fall apart internally and drop straight into the straight into the top of the chamber on top of the piston and get all smashed up and ruin your day. Whereas a lot of the bigger saws have a gallery, so if it falls apart it just sits in the gallery and stops the engine or makes a horrible noise and it won't idle. The other thing I noticed having it apart is it's been hot there. This top cover's been hot up here, so the exhaust has come off at some point, which could be part and parcel of my trouble as to why that nut wouldn't come undone properly. But I've had it off, so I don't know. I don't know what's happened to it. And I'm hoping that my Permatex has sealed the 2 halves of the crankcase properly. I guess if I get some aero start and it's running and I squirt it through the side cover and around everything that could be leaking and it does react weird, well then I guess I'd know. But the new seals were nice and tight on the crank, and the crank bearings were good. So we'll see how it goes in the next couple of days, maybe on the following weekend, because that only took me 2 hours to do, I suppose. Would have taken me maybe 3, only because everything was caked in oil. So I have cleaned everything. Like, this here was all brown, so it's all been degreased and cleaned. The only thing that didn't get cleaned, like degreased and cleaned, was this cover. You know, like, it probably hasn't been, look, I'd eat off of that. In fact, my fingers are dirtier than that. And I've had that running too, so without a muffler, and it's still not oily. So, in a nutshell, it probably hasn't been that clean since it came off the shelf. It is a little oily, but I did run that with no muffler, so it would have been spitting any unburnt oil out the chamber here. A bit of carbon in there still. I didn't worry to get too much of it off because it wasn't hanging right back at that at the lip there where the piston goes up and down. It wasn't going to drag on the piston. It's actually right on the edge. It's halfway down the port, so it's not a big deal. But there's a little piston in there. Don't know if you can see it, but it goes up and down nicely. And you can just see it. There's actually no scores on there. It's open and it's shut. It's come down again. So yeah, horrible video footage, but anyway. There goes my workshop cat. Let itself in. It's a good cat, that one. So yeah. Don't know what else to tell you about it. Like, it's that clean underneath. So anyway.